Welcome everyone to Anti-Workers United. Today we have an AMA with Kelp. So let's get started by having Edward introduce himself, tell us your background, in the real world and also in crypto, and how you got to this point. Like basically we want to know the dev. Just tell us all about yourself and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, happy to. So my name's Edward. This Kelp was something that came about in 2018. I and the rest of the world basically watched Bitcoin go mainstream and, saw its epic rise to nearly 20. And then it's crashed right down to its low. And, everyone at the time in the mainstream was saying that this is going to be the new type of money. And, for me, it just didn't make sense. It was far too volatile for anyone to want to keep their, if they had to make a rent payment next week, they don't know what the price is going to be next week. If it's 5% lower, 10% higher, who knows? But you can't really bet your rent on that. And so, at the time I was in some Telegram groups, and just happened to be another guy I was talking to. We had exactly the same idea, and he happened to be a PhD in quantitative finance. And so since then, we put together this idea, and fundamentally, it's pretty straightforward. It's literally taking what has already worked for the last 50 years to create very stable economies in the Western side of the world by using central banking methodology and monetary policy, monetary theorem, and stack it on top of blockchain. That was literally it. Could we do that? The difference is with the Fed and all other central banks around the world, they have a committee which is run by people, and people have agendas, political agendas, whatever else that is they're biased towards. And this often has created these massive boom and bust cycles that we've seen, causing pretty, a lot of pain and suffering around the world. And so we wanted to just take pure monetary policy, the algorithms that guide it, and stack it on top of blockchain. And so that's what we did. So in a nutshell, that's basically it. The algorithm is what we're calling the Kelp protocol, and it is literally based on a modified version of the quantity theory of money. So, you're on the white paper right now. We've got everything documented there on how it works. So on our back end, everything is functioning correctly right now. So essentially what it's doing is it's just taking on-chain and some off-chain data, crunching the numbers, and making a prediction. And the prediction is just on one thing. What do we do to the circulating supply in order to stabilize price? And so we use that delta for everything else that we do. So it together with a bunch of other things for this initial part of Kelp, we know it's going to be heavily volatile, but we have other algorithms that basically help to regulate the supply of new tokens coming into circulation. And this all helps us to get to our sort of the two most important milestones for this initial phase, which is price parity with the US dollar and making sure that we have a minimum circulating supply in circulation. The price parity is pretty important because if anything is going to be considered money, it usually has to complete three different things. So a unit of account, and this is what we're trying to achieve with the price parity. So making sure that products and services are evaluated in similar metrics as other currencies. Being a medium exchange, we know that blockchain can be definitely good for that, and a store of value. And this is where the Kelp protocol and the prediction side comes in, is to maintain purchasing power. So in a nutshell, that's Kelp. So it's been 6 years of love. My background, I've got a Bachelor in Commerce from the Sauder School of Business in British Columbia. That's here in Vancouver, Canada. This has been something I've been working on for, like I said, 6 years. So it's finally come to this.
Okay, so briefly on the team, how large is your full team?
So we have 5 core members at this point. And then we have a lot of freelancers that come in and out from all sorts of stuff, back end, generative art, the AI machine learning side of things, Web3, Web2.
So with the 5 core members, how long did you guys, or how long were you working on, like with them? Not like you said 6 years with the idea, but let's say with the full force, or with most of the, with full force or most of the team together. Like how long has that been?
So we started building the mobile application. So just bring a little bit back. So in 2021, that's when we first started raising a little bit of funds to get things going. And then 2022, we've incorporated a labs company here in British Columbia. And then since then, the team's been together. So we've been putting together the mobile application, building the backend infrastructure. So we've been literally at this since it'll be 2 years of this April.
Okay, so 2 years. Okay, that's a fairly significant chunk of time in this space, that's for sure. So I see the white paper I was looking at today, and I'm like, I think it looks like one of those PhD dissertations.
Boria, I've had to read it 3 times, dude. I'm not joking. No, he sent me the first draft before I shared it with you, before I was in a position to share it with you guys. And I'm one of those kind of people that I learn in quite a different way. If I don't understand something, I can't progress with like any literature or text. I have to understand what I'm reading before I move on. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, right? So I spent best part of a day and a half diving into that white paper, and it blew me away. And I've been working with Edward for about 3.5, 4 weeks since we got introduced. And I've been picking his brain ever since. And every day I spend more time around him, the vision of Kelp becomes more and more and more alive to me, which is incredible from a marketing perspective, right? Because that's the bridge that's my job. That's the bridge here, is to take what Edward has, which is a Sheldon Cooper from, what's that TV program?
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory, and try and make it relative to us. We're not stupid people by any means, by any standards. We're all very, we're accustomed to crypto. We understand how it works, but we are bringing in an element of finance that's in the mainstream, dictated by the mainstream banks and the federal government. And we are utilizing this on a blockchain in our control. And it's, how do we relate that to people? How do we make people understand that? And that's kind of been my task. And it's an ongoing task, but it starts with the AMAs and explaining to you guys that overall what Kelp is, So that white paper, put the kettle on and read it a couple of times. If you are a savvy, serious investor, you'll see the value that's in it, because once it all starts connecting the dots for you, you will realize that this is a potential Binance top 50 coin without a shadow of a doubt. And I've been in this space a long, long, long time. And I'm saying that with all honesty.
Okay. So one thing I would like, this, obviously, like you said, it would take a while to figure out, on your own, someone reading this, and you do definitely need some knowledge, some education to even know what equations are, like what this means, like how could you interpret this. So one thing I know I suggested before is to have maybe some simplified form, like a flow chart, something like easy that just like anyone.
Absolutely. And we took that on board, and we were like, right, how are we going to do this? So we have got a 5-stage YouTube video explanation coming out in more palatable, digestible. It's like a series, if you will. And it's going to explain the entire ecosystem for everyone in a much simpler way. And in the back end, since myself and Dive have come on from the marketing team, we've been accelerating the social growth of Kelp to be able to get it in a state where we can send this stuff viral for you, because our go-to-market plan here is to build a gigantic audience and to reward that audience as we go. so that they continue to engage with Kelp, learn, earn Kelp, and become part of this project. Because we all know in crypto, you're nothing without a community. And it's bridging that gap, being relatable to that community and keeping that engagement going, which is where our first go-to-market strategy has come in with the Kelp wallet. Because with the Kelp wallet, it's not just a wallet. What it is, it's a shill army machine, right? We have had over if you have a look on the website now, if you go back to the main spinning globe, Boria, just below it is a live counter of how many downloads we've got on this app. So there you go, total users over 438k, right? Now, the vast majority of those people are your kind of airdrop people that are signing up to airdrops, right? And a lot of people look at that in a negative way, but we don't. We want a massive part of that for the momentum that builds, because built in this app, what we have got is the ultimate gleam that's completely in our control. We have the ability to send push notifications to all our users to update daily tasks, whether that's to go to our CMC and upvote it, whether it's to go to our main Twitter account that now has over 120,000 followers and blow up and send one of our tweets viral, or whether we raid CZ's latest tweet or Binance's latest tweet. We have built an army, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. So when our pre-sale fully goes live, because the marketing for our pre-sale has not started until the website dashboard that we spoke about is active, all marketing is paused until that happens. When that happens, it will go ballistic. We've got a massive plan that is going to get pushed out. So anyone that is listening that hasn't got the Kelp app now, you can go to the Play Store or download it on your iOS device. As soon as you set up a wallet, you've got a load of tasks straight away. And within that, you can earn Kelp. And it's reserve Kelp, which will then be issued to you later on. So it's a way of earning your airdrop, so to speak. It's also a fully active wallet, which will become multi-chain on the next update. And the entire ecosystem that we're going to explain to you is going to be accessible in the Kelp app as well. So all the protocols are going to be there for you, the savings accounts, how the whole flow works. So what we've got on the app now is phase 1, which is the shill army. Phase 2 is fully functional utility on the app right in front of you. And to just give you guys an idea how bullish this project is, we have turned down over $25 million in capital from venture capitalists in the past 2 weeks. We've been to every launch pad. We've had people contact us. And the core of this is that this project is for the people, right? So we do not want to be giving massive amounts of Kelp away that are going to bite us in the ass later on with these venture capitalists as we continue to progress with this project. So we've turned it all down, and the roadmap that we've set out with the raise that we've set out is a target that we can achieve with the marketing and everything else that we put in place, which means we're not going to be getting dictated to by much larger investors. But the point that I'm making here is VCs are coming to us and saying, we want to put $1 million. We want to put $1 million. We want to put $1 million. But obviously they're going, but we want this. And Edward and myself have just been in a situation where we're not prepared to give that much Kelp away, regardless of the money they want to throw at us. So from your point of view as an investor, that's a very, very bullish thing to be looking at.
Oh, so how much did you say again did they offer?
In total, we've been approached by 4 VCs, and it's around about 9.6 or 9.8 million in total they've offered us.
Okay, so I'm just guessing they probably wanted a lot cheaper price.
They did, sir. They did. But the thing is, VCs are great. They have connections, and they put you into different places. But I've worked with VCs for years. I know how they operate. I know how they operate on the inside, and it's detrimental to Kelp long term. If we want it to be on Binance, which is the only tier 1 exchange we are aiming for, we are not fucking around with anything else. It brings no value, no real trading volume, no proper exposure. So it's the only thing that we're aiming for. Obviously, that's later on down the roadmap. We've got 101 things to execute until that point, but it would hamper us getting there, and we don't want to be a part of that. So we're doing it the hard way, and it's the right way.
Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. And I'll go a little bit deeper into the strategy of why this is necessary, and it goes back to with venture capitalists, they have a for-profit motive, right? They want everything that we're going to do to maximize shareholder value or stakeholder value, and it's counter to how I think about Kelp and what competitive advantage we're going to be able to generate with this massive liquidity pool that we're going to be raising. And the reason is quite simple. Is when we take Kelp to go battle against some of these traditional Web 2 companies, let's take Shopify, for example, right? Massive e-commerce company or platform providing pretty slick, e-commerce shop to a lot of people. But they're for profit, and so their motive is to maximize shareholder returns. So it's charging for everything they possibly can on the payment side, on the monthly fees, on any of the add-ons that are of value to the end user to be able to enhance functionality. That's completely the opposite motivation that drives Kelp, right? What drives Kelp is again going back to that Kelp protocol. How we look at increasing the price of Kelp, it really comes down to the velocity of money. And so when money changes hands, the faster it does, the more that it automatically implies that there is more demand for it. And so for us, it is a demand side of the equation that we're trying to satisfy. And what is the best way that you can go against someone where you have a similar product? Is to make it free. And so from that perspective, we're not looking at competing with Shopify on a similar platform, similar pricing strategy. We want to go and build a platform that's going to be equal to them, but give it away for free. Why? Because Kelp is going to be at the center of that. And the more people that are onboarded into this, the bigger the liquidity pool that we have for it, the more comfortable business owners are going to be able to know that if they take or do any business in Kelp, that there is a solid liquidity pool for them to exit into the traditional finance market. That is going to be easier for them to migrate over. And at the end of the day, it's that velocity of Kelp that I'm looking to increase. And this goes for all the other parts of any of the businesses that we try to tackle. So where do we generate our revenue from? Well, liquidity pool generates liquidity pool fees, transaction fees that we have built in. There's lots of different ways that we can monetize it. But again, it's about velocity for us.
Can you go over the transaction fees? You don't mean the taxes, right? You just mean the liquidity, like the 0.1% or whatever.
Yeah. So when
liquidity providers are getting.
Yeah, exactly. So when you interact with liquidity pool, the liquidity provider generates partial fees, right? A percentage of the transaction. So that's
partially to there, partially to Uniswap or PancakeSwap or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to have it's in there fourth from the bottom called a variable taker fee. So this is all part of the ecosystem in order to get to number one. Get into that $1 parity with US dollar. So I believe money should be transferred anywhere you want, right? It doesn't matter, if you want to transfer one wallet, one exchange, wherever you want it to go. That's why we haven't built in a built-in buy-sell tax with the currency itself. What we are planning, though, is that there will be this variable taker fee that will be anytime that you interact with the liquidity pool. That's when this fee comes in. So that's another revenue source as well. But again, this is all going into ensuring that we have our collateralization for Kelp increases. That's very important.
Okay, so how is this different than like a sell tax?
So it is a sell tax, absolutely, for this this initial seed phase, because we need to be able to manage the market behavior, and this is one of the tools that we have to do it. The other one is obviously interest rates, and that goes in line with the staking account side of things.
Yeah, guys, I think it's best we kind of back up and just go over how the ecosystem works and paint it in one picture, because the shiny tokenomics of Kelp is pretty astounding, but I think you need to explain it in a way where we can all get a better grasp of it.
Yeah, basically like a top-down view, right, from the top down to the
Yeah,
bottom.
for sure, because picking out on individual parts of the protocol, they all have their fundamental role, which is price go up or stabilize price. So that's kind of what I'd like you to kind of present to them, Edward, if you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, definitely. I was gonna say the same thing. Like basically like some simplified way of how everything will work, because you have the from what we talked about so far, you have a couple of things, right? You have that app that's generating users, and you also said the big part of Kelp, or from what I understand, so as of now, this is the main part of it, is to have a stable coin in the future, and that's essentially going to be equivalent to USD. And you also mentioned the marketplace, like Shopify. So how does it all tie in together? So yeah, maybe like explain like what Mick and Tam was saying, like the whole ecosystem, how it's going to work.
Yeah, so let's start with the actual ecosystem around Kelp. So Kelp itself is just a token, standard token, ERC20, B20, whatever it wants. What's unique about it is the actual ecosystem around it. So it's a combination of algorithms that live in our backend on our server, smart contracts, and they all interact with each other. So it's safe to assume that if there is a variable inside of the ecosystem, it's dynamically changing. And the entire purpose is to reach our seed phase objective, which is parity with US dollar. So what do we do in order to accomplish that? Well, we need to understand exactly how what's happening with the Kelp, the economic activity under it, right? So and this is where we have a whole bunch of different algorithms to help us give us an idea of what's happening. So the Kelp protocol will basically analyze the off-chain or the on-chain metrics, a little bit of off-chain as well, and tell us how far we are away from stability based on our circulating supply. So if, for example, we have very high demand for Kelp, prices going up, what the Kelp protocol is going to tell us is that if we wanted to keep price at the mean, so base of 1, then we need to increase the circulating supply, right? This is basic supply and demand. If you have something that's increasing demand, you increase the supply, that's going to put pressure back down, right? And conversely, it's the other side. If there's heavy sell pressure, then it's going to say you need to contract the supply, right? You need to make less of it. And these are sort of basically the fundamentals of how the economy works, right? And what the Fed does is they control it through interest rates. The trouble is with interest rates, there's an 18-month cycle for it to really have an effect. Whereas with Kelp, things can have effect immediately if we want it to. So how do we make it happen? So the first line of defense, or first variable that we can talk about, is our interest rate. So this is variable. It's going to start at 2.5%, which is basically what other central banks started their interest rates at. So we just basically taken the same sort of approach. And then with that, we wanted to add staking. And so staking is a method where you can, if you incentivize the behavior correctly, you can have people basically contract the circulating supply. So with staking, it's like a savings account, but we're also offering term deposits. So if, for example, price is starting to decline, we're seeing negative, price action on it, then what we want to do is we want to incentivize people to, not to sell their tokens, but to actually stake them into something that's going to give them higher APY. And so that's why the interest rates that we calculate for the term deposits have multiple other variables, a duration multiple multiplier and the Kelp performance multiplier. So this is if we need to just boost the APY up to say, temporary 100%. All this comes from the Kelp savings vault, and we can monitor exactly how much of the supply is going into that to take advantage of this offer. So that constricts the supply, and then we'll see what happens with demand. The other thing that we can do is through the variable taker fee. So this is increasing the sell tax on it to make it less bearable to actually sell the token. And now if staking is up higher, then you're more incentivized to stake. And so everything we're doing here is not on an algorithmic level where we're trying to control everything. So we're not a Terra Luna in that situation. What we're trying to do, though, is persuade the market to behave a certain way. And we do that just by adjusting variables in the ecosystem. So this token release strategy is meant to do just that. So we have this algorithm, which is using the Kelp protocol to figure out what the delta is, right? And this is only active when it's in positive price, like upward price momentum. But what we'll do is we'll see what the delta is between what the Kelp protocol is telling us we need to increase the supply at in order to stabilize price. We're only going to take a fraction of that. And then we also take a fraction of the daily volume is trading in a 24-hour period. And that's basically a number that we work with in terms of monitoring the staking side of things and two other points of emissions. So the first is the liquidity guard. So you remember that sell tax? It's selling, it might be at, say, 10%, and that's not palatable for a lot of investors. So what we also built is this liquidity guard, and liquidity guard is meant to make you a deal. And the deal is if you let the liquidity guard sell your Kelp tokens into the market when it deems it the best time to do so without affecting the rest of the market, then we'll bypass that sell tax and we'll give you a much, much better rate. And so you can set the priority if you want it done today, or if you want it done in a week, if you don't really care. And then Liquidity Guard has some other features that will move you up inside of this priority in case it's taken too long. But Liquidity Guard is meant to bypass that if you allow us, the Kelp ecosystem, to sell it for you on your behalf. So again,
and how would you do that? Would you have to connect your wallet, or you have to use that app and send the tokens there, or?
Exactly, it's a smart contract. It's going to be available directly in the mobile application. So you'll interact with it from your wallet, and you basically just deposit there. It'll sell it. You'll be able to claim it back, and it's done. So everything that we do is also decentralized. We do not want any part of Kelp centralized in any manner where we have to take control over your funds. So there's a bunch of other things that we can talk about. One of them is on the utility side, which is called Kate. But we can talk about that a little bit later.
For now. Yeah, I have a couple of questions, but you could continue, finish up.
Yeah, let me just finish up. So with the TRS, the final emission of new tokens into circulation is that reservation program. And I think a lot of people, when they first see it, they don't really understand why it's there. Like, why are we doing this sort of airdrop, but sort of a funny way? It's kind of like mining or farming. You basically have a huge allocation of this to give to the people, and for what? So, Milk alluded to this a little bit earlier, but it is a strategy that was successfully utilized by another project in 2017 called Initiative Q. They did something similar, and they managed to onboard 11 million people onto their mobile application. 11 million. So pretty successful. And so we've taken that approach. What differs from Initiative Q is they weren't able to actually launch their payment network. So they had a similar thing where they were going to give away their token called Q, but they valued it at $1, and they ended up giving away trillions of it. And so there's no actual feasible way for them to make this happen. But this is where the token release strategy, why we have a stabilized currency, and a variable vesting contract that's tied to the reservation program is that we can basically monitor and make sure that the emission from the reservation program is managed in a way that doesn't affect our objective of getting to parity, but while we still maintain that we have a certain minimum circular supply that we want to hit. So that's sort of how all of the parts all connect together. And just one more final point on the reservation program. This is a shill army, as Milk said. This is a way where we can get some serious traction, and it's taken a lot of resources. I sort of went the opposite approach, the way most people would have probably approached it. They might have launched a token first and then tried to build other utilities on top. But I felt it was the most important to build this part first, because you can see by all of our metrics, and a lot of people don't believe it's real, but we have, for example, our YouTube channel, which is sitting at 122,000 people, I think, at this point. We don't have any videos yet. It's all because people come into the mobile application. They see that if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we'll then give you some kelp that you can reserve right now for launch. And people are doing this in droves. And recently our channels have gone up significantly. I think, Boria, since we talked, we're up 3 times. And we haven't really started marketing yet. So that gives you an idea of why this reservation program exists. It exists to give us an advantage over everybody else. And especially when we're going to talk to Binance and we tell them that, we have several 100,000 people who are going to hold kelp. That's significant amounts of trading volume, right? Now, granted, it would be probably on the negative side for kelp, but from Binance's perspective, they don't care one way or the other. They just want volume. And so that's going to be 300,000 people that have kelp that are looking for a place to sell. And that market can all of a sudden be very, very attractive to an exchange.
And so, and from an investor's point of view, at this stage, everything that we're talking about now is a very profitable entry point to be in. There will become a point where parity is reached, and there's not that much money to be made as an investor, so to speak. No one's getting into the market to make a 2 or 3x, are they? But on the road up to parity, there's massive, massive options of trading. There is going to be profit taking. There is going to be a lot of money to be made on the way up. The marketing plans that we've got set out are quite substantial, and we will be spending millions in marketing. We budgeted it based on our best case scenario. We budgeted at least $3.5 million for the first month after we go live.
Okay, so I do want to talk about all of that and like the big picture, with all the airdrops and like the supply and demand and all that. But I think for now, I want to basically summarize a little bit of what we talked about here with the protocol. So from what I understand, like to boil it down to basics, you're going to be on Uniswap, right? You're not going to be on Binance right away, or are you guys planning to go on Binance like immediately?
We'll see what happens.
No,
first is going to be on a DeFi, right?
We're launching on a DEX first, and then we are. Remember, Kelp is going to its own blockchain as well. And we are just at the stage where we're making a decision when that's going to happen. It will be a very simple switch over. It will be a swap, from your BEP20 to the Kelp mainnet. So we will be launching on a DEX first. I understand the levels of DeFi. I also understand what is needed to get us to where we need to go. We need to be boots on the ground. We need to be at the ground level with you guys to get this where it needs to be, because it needs community engagement. It needs everyone to get behind it. And that's the main focus point. And this is why we're starting here, ground level with the community, because we want you to be a part of this as we grow. Have any of you guys held a token from this kind of level that's got tier 1 exchange? Because if you have, well, you wouldn't be here. You would be a very, very rich individual. And this is the opportunity that we want to be bringing to you. It's a life-changing kind of play that we've got here. And this is why I'm full-time Kelp. I'm on board with the team full-time.
Okay. So it's going to be on PancakeSwap, right? Most likely then with the BNB pair.
Yes, sir.
And so just like as an example, let's say, okay, you have the tax, to control selling, let's say from 0 to 25%. What is that called again? That's called the variable taker fee, 0 to 25%. You also have an incentive for staking. So like, let's say maybe in the beginning, it's going to be 10%. And if there's a lot of sellers, you might, let's say, well, if you stake now, you're going to get a 300% APY, right? Something like that. Like, so that basically a way to balance out the supply and demand, right? So, but at the end of the day, that liquidity there's no real way to modify it unless you add liquidity, like you pair more tokens or more BNB or whatever, or, or you withdraw, right? There's no real way to do this kind of manipulation with the actual liquidity itself. Like as if there's like 100,000, in liquidity, and if 50K people sell or 50K worth of, tokens are sold, the incentive is there not to sell, but if they do sell, right, they're going to sell. There's nothing then you guys could do about that. So what will be the strategy to mitigate like the big fluctuations in the price from those kind of actions? Like if the liquidity is small versus the amount of value that holders have, like like I said, maybe 100K in liquidity, but like $20 million worth of tokens in everyone's wallets. What will be the strategy, like just with all the different tools and all the other like all the supply you guys have in here to basically balance it all out? Like just want to get an example, like an idea of how it would work, and like in real life once it's launched.
Yeah, and so the first step is that we would never put Kelp in the position where that would be the sort of tokenomics. But second, the point that you're getting to is, what do you do about all this excess supply? So, for example, the reservation program, right? It's a good part. It makes up about 31% of the entire supply, but it's guided by its release, is regulated by the token release strategy, right? So, for example, staking is priority one. That's a fixed cost to the ecosystem that can't be changed. Or they can't be modified, right? It is what it is. So people stake; those are payments that have to be made out, and so they get priority in the TRS in terms of at least being counted first, making the calculations. The second is the liquidity guard. So people that do want to sell, but want to let the system do it on their behalf, those are next in priority. And finally, the reservation program is third. So what I'm saying is, the system is designed to ensure that we regulate new tokens coming into the system, so that we don't have a supply shock, right? That's going to be detrimental. And every step of the way, from the initial raises to this public pre-sale that we're running now, is meant to generate enough liquidity so that we have at least a close to 1% collateralization of what we're giving out. So with that much liquidity, it allows us to do things that take even more drastic steps. So, for example, if sort of first and second line of defense aren't really hindering on the sell side of things, or the negative, the downward price side of things, and honestly speaking, that's the only thing that matters, right? What happens when you get into this sort of death spiral situation, right? Well, number one, Kelp is it's going to be volatile at the beginning. I think everybody knows that. It's not meant to be a stabilized currency right away, right? Nor is it going to be pegged at $1, right? That's just a target that we wanted to hit, somewhere around there. The actual premise around stability is that it's going to be operating within a band, a price band, and that band moves up and down, right? So that's first. But if first and second line of defense aren't really hindering the sell pressure, right? So we can increase the percentage, and the system will do that to 25%, and that's pretty significant already. If that hasn't done it, and the price is still declining, then that's where we take some of the collateralization that we are now gaining, and we do what's called open market operations. In crypto terms, it's a buyback, right? And this is how we can set lower, like a price floor, to make sure that we don't go past.
So that would be with like the 25% sell tax?
Well, this is going to be in combination with everything that we're doing. So if, for example, staking is high, we have, it's, a very good opportunity to stake. We also have a sell tax that's really, really high. That's, hopefully persuading people from not selling. Liquidity guard that's available to bypass it if they wanted to, just let us sell it on your behalf when the system is good. And this is done all through the system, automatically through the system. But if all of those still aren't having an effect, that's when buybacks will come into effect. And the idea is it's quite simple. We're just going to mop up a lot of the excess tokens that have gone in there. So where that price floor is, that will be determined by the situation that's at hand. But at that point, there's going to be a point where the sell pressure is going to be relieved, and then demand is going to start to increase, especially when we start onboarding more utilities to things. And like I said, this initial phase where we are kind of more relying on the retail market for demand side of things, it's going to make it volatile, and we understand that. But as we bring on more utility, and this is where our first utility is going to come into play, which is called Kate. We're hoping that we can sort of stabilize demand and move the shift the demand side of things away from just speculative trading side into more solid utilities.
Is Kate in the wallpaper? Because I didn't see it.
It is. It's not. There's still a bunch of parts of this that are I'm still working on, but I wanted to get as much of the actual meat of Kelp available right away. So roadmap side of things, utility side of things, how we're going to create this foundation that's going to guide Kelp into the future. Those parts are still being worked on, but they'll be up fairly soon. But the bulk of what is...
Yeah, Kate is kind of an ace up the sleeve, because once we announce Kate, Kate's going to have her own separate kind of socials as well. But it's a pretty special program, and I'm extremely excited to talk about it, but I can't really talk about it at the moment, but it's certainly an ace up our sleeve.
Okay, so it's going to be basically AI. Looks like an algorithm-based trading system.
Mate, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely shit up.
Hey, as long as it's profitable, man, I don't care what it's doing.
Dude, it's insane. When you look at the back end of what this thing does, it's insane. I couldn't even comprehend it when Edward broke it down to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, as long as I could put my $100,000 into my Maxi account and make 10 million overnight, then I'll be happy.
I'll give you a basic premise of it, and just a little bit of back testing that we've already done. So keep in mind, this was very early. We haven't really done much of developing Kate because obviously getting everything ready for launch and for the private sale or the pre-sale has been priority. But we did back test this Kate against 5 years of historical data. We produced 1,409 different daily portfolios. The premise is, let's just keep it super simple. This is going to be a 3-month buy and hold strategy that's managed by Kate. And it produced an average of 22% for those 3 months, 88% a year without compounding. And when I say that this strategy is ultra simplistic, it is actually like an embarrassment if I say so myself. Like, there's so much improvement to make. It still produced positive ROI.
Was it tested on, like on crypto?
Yeah, we tested on, at the time it was, we were monitoring about 7,000 assets. So a combination of crypto and equities. So I think it was like 5,000 equities and then 2,000 crypto. Right now the Kate's basically monitoring 15,000 assets. And we can, if we had access to more, we could just scale it up. It's already built for scale. It's, our team has done such a great job on the scaling side of things, on the infrastructure side.
And what time frame were you guys saying that the 88% you said on average per year? Is that what it was?
Exactly. And that's without compounding.
What years were those? Like, basically, what data set, like from 2018 to 2023, or
previous 5 years. So when we tested 5 years, yeah, probably early 2023. So it's going back to about 2018 or so.
And this is like just based on the strategy. Did you compare that to doing the same thing but just buy and hold? Like what the average?
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be?
we have for example, you just buy and hold the DAO. So we did a basic analysis with this. If you basically took the DAO over 10 years and you just held the DAO for 10 years, we would beat it by 3 times. And part of the way we do that is we are actually looking at the companies inside the DAO, and we run our own analysis on those individual companies, not on the entire portfolio itself. So we're looking at what is actually the best opportunities, not just holding everything. And so that's
Yeah.
the power of Kate, right? And I'll just say one more thing. So Kate is based on well, there's a lot of technology under it, but the basic premise is based on a service in the States called Acorns. Again, really, really simple strategy, simple product for the people. 9 million users paying $5 to $7 a month. So just to give you perspective of what they're doing versus what we're doing. And they're also generating something like 5 to 7% when it's a good time, and it's negative during stagnant seasons. So we're trying to really optimize a product. So we've got a lot of work to do on it still, but infrastructure is there. We just need to put more focus onto it, and that'll be coming.
So is this going to be something that how will we be able to use it? Is it going to basically be AI, or the bot is going to hold? It's like an index, or not like an index, on like a hedge fund that's going to hold and trade all these, or will I be able to use it on my own account, and I'll be able to select like, okay, I want to do these stocks, or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
attach it to a personal account, like my stock account, for example, like TradeStation, or some Forex broker.
Yeah, so there a lot of obviously on the equity side of things, because it is a regulated market, you need licenses, etc. It's going to complicate things a little bit, but the basic premise behind everything that we want to do is decentralization. Kelp, the app itself, is a Web3 wallet. It's as secure wallet as we can make it. Nothing that goes from the wallet ever touches our servers, and that's the way that we wanted for you to interact with Kate, is in a decentralized way. So part of Kate is going to be our backend servers that are producing the data. Another part is actually going to be a system of smart contracts, couple different smart contracts that allows you to maintain control of your funds at any time. You can pull them out, but Kate will basically manage that for you. And that all ties into a decentralized exchange of our own that we are looking to build. So there's a lot of smart contracts that are involved to make it decentralized. Licensing is a big one, and we're working on that to try to get access to tokenizing the equity side of things. So yeah, there's a lot of things that goes into it to make sure that we can reach the vision that we want of it. But the core algorithms, the core technology, the infrastructure already done. We have just more to do on it.
Okay. All right. So I want to go over like the big picture, like a little bit of what we discussed with the scenarios, but just the big picture of what has happened so far, what all the raises, what's planned for the future, and like just the cost of everything. And because I know you guys said, based on at least that pin post, there's going to be stages 1 through 7 for pre-sale and 4 additional. So I don't know if that means that's optional, or there are going to be more than 7 stages. And because every time it goes up, right? So the first one's 50K, then 100K. Stage 7 is 3.2 million. So then is there going to be more past that point?
Correct. Yeah. If we get past the phase 7, so that's sort of our sweet spot in terms of enough liquidity to manage the entire system the way we want to. And this, I think, is absolutely doable based on our metrics that we're showing throughout the app, throughout Google Analytics, the website visits, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we can go through step by step of where we've been and where we're going to.
Yeah. Basically, just do the history of what happened so far with all the raises, with the tokens, and so also like there's no per se, I guess there's no tax in a way, but there is that sell tax, the variable sell tax that you mentioned. So there is like a tax. It's just called a different way, and it's going to change. Like, is it going to be something that you'll manually do that for example, it's like 5%, and then you see a whole bunch of sells, so you're gonna raise it, or is it gonna be all in the contract that the contract is gonna know, oh, this sell's incoming on the block, on that block, and it's gonna like, okay, I'm gonna need to start raising the tax.
Yeah, this is all coming from all of our algorithms in the back end, right? So the token release
Okay.
strategy, Kelp protocol. So this, we're not trying to be proactive in terms of, okay, if we see a whole bunch of tokens moving to, to the wallet, then we're going to increase the tax in anticipation of that. So we are definitely going to be more on the reactive side of things, but we can react very quickly, right? And it's a combination of things. So we don't want to intervene if we don't have to, right? So ensuring that there's enough demand to counter that, that's important. There's obviously going to be, if there's multiple liquidity pools or multiple exchanges, there's multiple markets for Kelp, which means there's going to be arbitrage between them. And so, people that do arbitrage, that might take a lot of the pressure off as well, right? So
Yeah.
for us, you look at it from a holistic point of view, but the underlying premise is that the Kelp protocol requires 365 data points in order to make a prediction. The best case scenario is when Kelp is working on a daily basis, right, which requires a year's worth of data. We can get very, very accurate predictions of what it should happen or what's going to happen. But obviously, we're not going to wait a year until we pump out our first prediction.
Yeah, for sure.
So
then all these. Oh, okay. So all these algorithms, they're all gonna be in the contracts, but they're all proxy, right? So no one could just go in and check them out and figure out how to hack it or figure out how to bypass them, right? So that's sort of, from what I understand, it's all going to be proxy contracts. So there's also that issue of audits and how making sure that proxy contracts are all safe.
Yeah, so our contracts already been audited by Solid Proof for the first for our token and crowd sale contract. And like I said, we're keeping a lot of this very, very simple from a smart contract side of things, at least initially. That's why the token is literally just a token. Everything else comes through on staking contract and some of these other ones for launch day, and that's where we need to have good auditors making sure that we've done our job and make sure that these contracts are safe. But a lot of the variables, that's all coming from our back end, using various methods to get the variables to the contracts themselves. But then the contracts just operate like standard other staking contracts.
Oh, I see. So the variables themselves in the algorithm is not actually in the contract. It's something. No. It's some backend thing that's gonna tell you, okay, now you got to change this output, and you got to do this write function in the contract to change this output or something.
Exactly. So smart contracts, they work best when they're simple, very simple. When you
add
complexity, it adds gas fees and becomes very difficult to manage. So all the complexity is moved onto our server side, and we just make sure it's locked down.
Okay. All right. That's good then. So let's go back to what we talked about, like the whole overall, like what happened, what you guys had for the raises and what you plan for now and for the goals right before launch, like what you're planning to raise and so let's go from the beginning.
Yeah, I'll talk about the sort of the initial phases. So we did run a private raise. So still, fortunately, it's up on the website right above you there. So that's the total. Now, from that, two large investors were contributing to this, about $150,000 US, but it's for equity inside of the actual company that's here in Vancouver. So the only reason I've included it in there is because there is a clause that they can't convert to their equity to Kelp. But the contracts themselves have to actually have some sort of a liquidity event in order to convert to equity itself. So right now there's just a convertible debt agreement and a safe agreement, and that's all there is. So unless there's a liquidity event where we get a VC involved and the price of the valuation changes, then that's when those contracts trigger. So that's was used to basically seed us to build our first mobile application and keep us going. And then we did a private raise, which did about 95 or 100,000, somewhere around there, US dollars. So that is not vested, which I know was a concern for some people. But part of the reason why our private raise, or sorry, the public sale is the way it is structured is, anticipating the absolute worst situation where everybody in the private raise sells, and we have 0 buyers at launch. We need to make sure that there's enough liquidity to absorb that. So we ran simulations on an AMM playground. And the number that we came up with in that worst case scenario was basically midway between the phase 6 and 7 of the public raise. So at that valuation, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, but we can break that number down further, because actually out of that additional 100K that was raised, a good 60K of that are kelp that had been raised through our private network, which will be staked straight away. So then you look at that, we're down to 40K, and that 40K was raised in a private group, which you were a part of, Boria, and we are also going to be offering a staking percentage for you guys as well, if you're wanting to stake, which will reduce again any possibility of them selling on the pre-sale and launch price. So when you do take a step back and you look at that figure, which is 250K, once you actually break it down to what potentially could be distributed on day one, you are actually looking at a very small amount.
Very small
in comparison.
Yeah, so you're saying the 60K was the first 60K from the private, that those are going to be auto-staked?
Yes.
And is there like a timeline? What's the minimum they have to stake it before they could withdraw?
We're going to be offering, our staking contract is basically finished at this point. We're just going to get the DApp integrated with it. But we're offering 2 plans, a 3-month and a 6-month plan. Very high APY, and it's just meant to, if someone wanted to do it, then they could. I know from majority of the private raise that was sold, I personally know every single one of those investors, a majority of them, because they all came from my personal network. So majority of them are going to stake, and you'll be able to see this on the smart contract itself on how much has actually been locked up.
Okay, so let's see here to kind of get a better picture of this right here, the 25, 25, 25, and 5. So the tokens are all allocated for all the stages of pre-sale and all the private sale. Is that that's in this token sales, right? This 25 billion token sales.
Correct. Yeah, so initially when I built this tokenomics for this, I wanted to make sure that, in terms of money, you want to make sure that it's scarce enough where it has value, but not as abundant enough where it has, people just not value it anything. So I wanted to give Kelp enough leeway in order to accomplish that. And so the tokenomics that we have here fulfill that. So the 25 billion for the reserve pool, that's the reservation program. That's all going to variable vesting contracts. So over time that will, but according to when the best market conditions allow. Token sales, the private sale and the pre-sale that we have structured right now are only going to take about 10 billion if we sell it completely. So there is 15 billion that is basically going to be unused. So conversely, with that, the liquidity pool side of things, there's going to be a significant amount of the liquidity pool token allocation that isn't going to be used as well. So when you look at the tokenomics, it's 80 billion in the total supply, but on day one, in terms of circulating supply, it's literally starting at, if we allow everything, 10 billion.
Well, 10 billion if you just from the tokens that the people got, and also 10 billion for liquidity, right?
Yeah, liquidity though it's only comes into circulation when people are bought, right? Or when they bought from the liquidity pool. So those are tokens that now coming into circulation that increases the supply.
Okay, so I guess the big concern I think for a lot of people would be that reserve pool, and like how with all the airdrops and 100,000 subscribers, like basically there's like a dollar cost for all that, right? And there's also a rough estimate of how long it's gonna, because you gotta promise them something, you gotta tell them something, right? You can't just be like, well, we'll give you those tokens sometime in the next year or so. They need to be expecting some kind of tokens in some time frames. So can you maybe give us like a estimate of what the value of the tokens currently, at least with everyone using the app and go on YouTube, what the value of these tokens would be, and roughly how long it would take for them to actually be getting them, like claim them or get them airdropped, claim them in the wallet, how many months, just a good idea, so we kind of know like what that pressure is coming from, like how big, what to expect from there.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a tough one to answer because obviously I can't see into the future in terms of how things are going to turn out with demand. What the price is going to do, what exchanges we're going to get on, what kind of reach that we're going to reach with this reservation program. We have internal targets, for example, with the mobile app to onboard at least 1 to 2 million before launch day. Whether we'll get to that or not, but maybe we go over, I don't know. But the basic premise is that we have about a year that I've set aside for a portion of the reserve pool to come into circulation, while also making sure that we are at least at parity with the US dollar. So when we hit a certain amount, a ratio of the circulating supply, based on how much demand and how much tokens are out there, we should stabilize at some point. So if the price is at $1 and we have the circulating supply that stabilizes it, great. It might be higher than $1. It could be a little bit less, but we want to make sure that we hit at least $1. So the TRS is going to be regulating heavily on all new tokens coming into circulation to achieve that goal. And so 25 billion, obviously they're going to be valued at market price whenever it comes out. But the TRS is, going to be regulating the reservation program as a priority 3 in line with the other 2. And so if we just run through a basic scenario of what would happen, let's just say that our Kelp protocol is telling us that we have the ability to increase the supply by 1 million to make sure the price is stable. Well, we obviously don't want it stable. We want it to keep going up. And so we're only going to take a fraction of that. And let's say it's 10%, so 100,000 tokens. And then we take a look at the previous 24 hours of trading. And let's say it's averaged 1 million. So we would then say, let's take, 5% of that, right? So that much a volume based on how much tokens there are available that we can release comes up with an amount that we'll then distribute amongst all of the different emission points. So staking first, liquidity guard second, and reservation pool program is third. So that's essentially how the TRS is going to work. Over time, obviously staking, things will stabilize. So the APY for staking should come down. Liquidity guard, depending on how volatile the market is, whether the variable taker fee is high or not. If it's sort of balancing itself out, the variable taker should be lower, so people probably won't use it, and that means more of the priority goes into the reservation program. So over time, it will vest, but it is not going to be detrimental to the market. That's entirely the purpose of the TRS.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I mean, most of these guys, like I know we discussed in the past, a lot of them are from third world countries, right? That's why they're doing all these different tasks to get airdrops. And I remember, like, just top of my head, I think like one wallet had like, I don't know, 1,000 Kelp, another one, maybe, I don't know. Does that seem correct? Like 1,000, 3,000, something like that, depending on how many tasks they did. Yep. So it's like a couple dollars here and there. I think one of them, I calculated was going to be like $15 based on what the TGE price was. So just a couple I've seen in chat that had, their wallets post. I think you guys had some kind of thing you were doing, post your rewards or post your wallets or whatever, like in Twitter, I believe. I don't know if I'm mistaken. I think I've seen something like that. So like I'm in like that's what kind of want to know. So these guys, they're basically have this value in their wallet, and they're probably not gonna understand what you're saying. So what are they thinking? Like what's gonna happen? I mean, what did they promise? Are they gonna get maybe like 10% of that in the first, in TGE, and maybe like
No.
not exactly what's happening, but what are they thinking, and like a good just an average scenario that could play out.
Yeah, so we're very clear right on the tasks page, the screen on the mobile application about how this works. So all emissions are regulated by this TRS, and it's only when the TRS determines, the reservation program is there's going to be an emission from it, it's going to be regulated, and the TRS will send a trigger to the variable vesting contract on, how much can be vested, the ratio between all the different beneficiaries, and when. And so that is the agreement.
Okay.
They're able to keep doing the task, build up that Kelp balance. It will vest over time. It will become more of a priority once Kelp stabilizes and the price gets higher. Then there will be more opportunity for the reservation program to come in. But when we're at the very beginning of this, it is 3 in priority, and it has to be. It's not like there's not going to be any vesting at the beginning. I anticipate on day one there might be, a handful of tokens to come out, but it isn't going to be enough in order to be detrimental to the chart. That's the underlying.
Yeah. Okay. So they know all this, that there's no like actual concrete date or concrete amount of or vesting schedule they're going to get. So they know that it's going to be it could be a month, it could be 6 months down the line. Okay.
Yeah, it could be something that takes quite a while, but that is one of the reasons why we built a custom vesting, custom variable vesting contract. So there's not any vesting contract that you've seen in the marketplace. It's not linear, it's not parabolic, it's on a schedule. It is literally something that is meant to receive triggers from our back end. When the time is right, when the market conditions are right, then they vest. And so this vesting contract is just sitting there waiting for the triggers. And once they get the triggers, then the users will be able to claim.
Okay, that's good. So in summary, basically, it's really nothing to worry about, at least for the immediate future of launch. It's not going to have like $400,000 worth of Kelp tokens just going to get airdropped to all those guys.
Yeah, no, dude, that's not happening in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, yeah, because I think that's a big concern, and that's kind of hard to figure out without talking to you guys about that. Because I mean, I wouldn't know that. I mean, just from reading the white paper, I wouldn't know that. Like there's 400K maybe in value, but they're not all going to come off maybe for like a year or two. So maybe over like 10K a month or something. Depending on how the market goes.
Have you got the Kelp app downloaded?
No.
Okay, if you download the Kelp app, you go into it. Once you see your task, you've actually within the wallet, it comes up with how many you've got, and it is grayed out saying reserved, and there is no one's got immediate access to dump them or anything like that. So it's not a concern in that respect. But obviously, once we get going, we will explain when there are going to be pockets of it released.
Okay, so the only ones that are getting tokens immediately would be like the private sale guys and also the pre-sales going on and nobody else.
As soon as you buy, you get airdrop your tokens immediately and they're free for you. They're not vested in any way, shape or form. So the tokens that are given to people for doing the work are a reserve balance of Kelp, which you are going to get later on down the line. Because let's be honest, to perform these tasks, it's not rocket science. So it's a little bit of passive income for people that want to put some work in, and I look at it this way. As a marketer, I could go and pay someone to do this, do that, or we could pay our own community that will back us because they're getting something from it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit like passive income from like an MLM if you sign people up and then you get like residual income from all those, things that they sell and things similar
Yeah,
to that.
dude, I mean, if they work hard and, like I say, we hit our targets and we launch, there's a tasty little bag in there for them that they've worked hard for, and they will get rewarded for it. But in terms of damage to the chart for us, you're talking minute things, but it's all factored in, because when we do release, we have things on the side ready to come in to react to certain events that we know are going to happen. Everything is being planned strategically. There is always going to be a way to react to something that's going to happen. That's something that we put a lot of thought into throughout the entire roadmap, and it's why we haven't put in the white paper this glossy roadmap of this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. We don't want to broadcast it all. There's too many things going in the back end, and we want to deliver and blow you guys away, not just like everyone be expecting this and expecting that. Just gives everyone the opportunity to go, when this, when that. We don't want all that. We're going to deliver for you, but we're going to surprise you with it as well.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. Honestly, we kind of have a similar system here with our AMAs. We have like a point-based system for giveaways. Every AMA you get 1 point, and if you do certain tasks like Twitter, you get like bonus points. If you actually buy the project in question with your giveaway money that you win, you get extra points. There's all kinds of incentives that we're doing.
Yeah, it's a great way of
also,
doing it, dude, because it engages your community and you become a unit.
exactly.
And that's what we're building with Kelp. We're building an impenetrable fucking weaponized unit, because when we literally send a post out, the metrics on the back end go ballistic, and we are aiming for 1 million users for launch. We're launching on the 31st of March. And
okay, so that's still on schedule then. Okay, so quarter.
Yeah, we're on schedule. So the pre-sale's open now, and because of the glitch with the website, which is getting sorted as we speak, we'll drop in with the devs after our AMA. All our marketing is on hold. I mean, we are doing some marketing now. We're talking to you guys, but it's not. The button hasn't even been pressed for marketing yet, and I just want to execute this roadmap because it's intense, dude. It's intense, but you'll see it when our pre-sale announcement goes live on Twitter. We follow it up with some tasks. We have a $5,000 giveaway as well, not just like, first place gets $300 and blah blah blah. Like whoever wins it gets $5,000, and we're going to consistently be doing this through our stages of pre-sale. We're going to make it inviting to everyone. Our PR campaign is going to go live in 3 days, and we're not dealing with Yahoo Finance and Bloomberg subreddits and all that bullshit. We're going top level PR. It's all planned. It's all mapped out, but we're doing it in stages to really build that momentum. Because once we start getting into the 100, once we're past a couple of 100,000 and we get to that first milestone of 1 mil, once we push that button on the big media campaigns, this is going to fly. It's going to move quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see that. I think in the beginning, the YouTube, like you were saying, like 40K, and now you said it's like about 120. So it's definitely, I definitely see the growth. And the users 438,000 on the app. Okay, so I really only have 2 more questions as of now for the AMA. Like 2 main like big questions, and then of course there might be more like pop up. So the one that interests me the most is you guys have that app with that engagement, and so I know other people will probably have the same idea. Is this app only for you guys, or will you be able to have
Good
that infrastructure?
Good question.
Yeah,
So,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Okay,
no. Listen, dude. We've already talked about white labeling it, right? But it's hard to put value on it because we spent a lot of money developing it. And remember, this is only phase 1 of the app. The next update that comes unlocks so much on the actual wallet. It becomes a fully functional wallet in every respect, which is what we want. We want to be people using the Kelp wallet, because the whole ecosystem is going to be in there. And when you've got a wallet like that as well, with your Kelp in it, it's going to be very difficult for everyone to just do this 2x and G, because you're part of the ecosystem then. It's like your bank app, you know? So there's a lot of thought gone into the way that the Kelp app is designed and the way that it's the next rollout works. But in terms of white labeling, it is a source of revenue. Yeah, 100%. But it's difficult to put a price tag on it because of the amount of work that's gone into it. But it is certainly an option. We've already had 2 people contact us this week about us selling the app to them.
Yeah, I'm not even saying selling. I mean, even being able to like register as a community, like for example, Anti-Ruggers United, and having my own tasks in there. Even it could even still be for Kelp, or I could even like pick the currency. I'm like, okay, same thing, kind of what you guys are doing. And let's say airdrop, someone airdrop 1,000 people for doing tasks, and like I want you guys to like the socials, follow the Twitters, all that stuff, you know.
Yeah,
So
dude. We've already thought about it. It's a brilliant idea how to link partnerships, and it is on the roadmap 100%. We have the ability to hit push notification and basically send out a notification to 450,000 people at the moment. So, and this is why you guys here now, you've got the best shot of pre-sale, because we haven't done any of that. As soon as we hit our marketing button, send out push notification that our pre-sale's live, that the front end's working, we tweet about it, we send out the next task to send all that viral. It's buy phase 1, 2, and 3 very quickly. So from a buyer's perspective, the actual error on the website has worked out in your lounge's favor.
okay, is there like but since we can't see it, I'm not even connected to the wallet because this browser doesn't have anything. So is that progress bar, or can we actually just go and like check the wallet address?
Our buy bot is just triggered. So we've raised 3.2K of the first round.
Okay,
that's good news.
So
the buy box literally has just come online now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that's good. That's just since basically right before the AMA started. I think you guys said you went live.
Yeah, and the buy bot has literally started working, so the devs are back to work. So this is good news.
Okay, so that's good. So that's that one question I had, and the other question is we kind of discussed it but basically the final target with the raises. So we had the 250K, 100K of that is going to be actual, to tokens. The other 150 is going to equity. So, and then that's at a much lower price, so they're getting more tokens for that. And then the next one is we have the 50K raise. There's not 7 stages, and I think it goes up to like 3.2 million for the stage 7. So what's like the final goal for this pre-sale that you are trying to raise? How many stages is it going to be, and like what would be like, because I know in stage 7 says 3.2, so like, yeah, I'm assuming there's like stage 8, 9, 10, 11, and like what's the total?
Yeah. So there is an end goal. Potentially, and it depends on a number of different factors, because we've got some things that we're working out in the background. If you can read between the lines very vaguely with what I mean by that, and if that is getting confirmed, then our raise will jump to the final stage, which will be 102 million.
So the final stage is 102 million USD. That would be like
that would be the whole thing sold out.
So that, yeah, I'm already saying, I'm assuming that's Binance going to re-solicit you guys before launch.
I didn't say anything. You are presuming things.
Well, that's how we make money here. We presume.
Well, I can't answer that. I can't answer that question, Boria. But it's.
I know legal reasons. I know, of course. This is just for the listeners here. Hint.
That's why the additional rounds are there, and there are a number of factors and things that are going on in the background. And bearing in mind, guys, that it takes a while for these sort of things. Usually 4 to 5 months, and it comes down to metrics as well.
So naturally, right? Naturally, let's just say that doesn't happen. So you guys just do 7. So it's okay with 7, right? 7 is still fine. Like that's
yes,
like the
yes, absolutely. But we're swinging for the fields here, mate.
Is there like a soft cap, like stage 4 or stage 5? Is there like anything like minimum you guys need?
Yeah, there is a soft cap. It's I think right at around five, in between 5 and 6. But I'm extremely confident that we're going to at least hit around 7, if not go all the way. I
Okay.
definitely view Kelp in the same ballpark as WorldCoin and some of these other ones. WorldCoin raised 100 million from VCs, but they got some funny eyeball retina scanner thing that is going to hinder them for sure for wider adoption. We have other ways that we can do the whole AML KYC using NFT IDs and stuff like that, but that's a little bit longer term. For now though, is using what we have with the mobile application, with this reservation program, making us extremely attractive for what these exchanges want. And what they want is volume. That's all they want, is they want to know that they have volume. And so the more people that you have onboarded into your platform, the more holders that are holding it, that's a good way to ensure that you're going to have some pretty significant trading. So we're going to be working hard, boosting up our numbers, and not just, not that most people would do it with bots or whatever else, right? We're trying to get real users on here, get them referring their friends and family, earning from following some of our socials. And then we go into a process which we're just about to get into, which is phase 2 of the action tasks. And this is entirely designed around building a stronger community, educating them around exactly what we're doing. So Milk mentioned, a 5 or 6 part explainer series that's going to go on YouTube. That's all meant to evangelize everyone that we have in here, so that when we come out the other end, we have a literal army that is a diehard for Kelp. They're going to be holders, and we're going to be extremely attractive for trading volume to the lucky exchange that gets us.
Okay, perfect. And then the question that goes along with that, for every stage that you guys complete, including what has happened so far, how much of that is going to liquidity, right? Because we don't, like I said, we don't really know, right, how far it's going to go. Stage 5, stage 7, stage 11. So what are your guys' plans for for each allocation? How much of that is going to go into like liquidity, like initial liquidity, and also if you're going to have it reserved for extra liquidity because you're going to be doing all that balancing when the algorithm and all that. Are you going to do any of that with liquidity too, or is it just going to be straightforward liquidity added and then let the market do its thing, and then the taxes or all that is going to take care of the rest?
Yeah, so part of the AMM playground allows us to play with the liquidity numbers, right? So obviously, using PancakeSwap version 2, that's just a stupid way to do it, because you're putting all your liquidity in, but the capital efficiency is extremely low on V2. So obviously, Uniswap introduced V3, and I think PancakeSwap has it as well now, where you have a band where you operate. And so, part of us is trying to make sure that we are as capital efficient as possible, making sure there's ample liquidity for anything that comes down the line. And this is where we might get into the predictive side of things with monitoring where tokens are going, so that we can add liquidity if we need to. Because if we add it before things happen, we can make sure that price doesn't decrease. So it's better for everybody. It's better for the trader. It's better for the market itself. Longer term, we still are incurring fees for that, and that all goes to the treasury. So to answer your question, the majority of the private raise is for building our infrastructure, our mobile application, for just straight up business development. The other raise, this public pre-sale, majority of it is for liquidity pool, for the Kelp reserve, for staking, for basically the entire infrastructure. Make sure that we're operating. We have a little bit that's set aside for the Kelp treasury. We have the liquidity guard. So those are some are ways that we're going to be able to fund the actual administrative side of things. But we want Kelp to have a massive liquidity pool, a massive reserve, because what we can do with it, that's the competitive advantage that we need if we're going to take Kelp from where it's going to be at launch to the next level and be a contender with, some really, really big names. We need that liquidity.
Yeah, definitely. Because I see like by stage 5, it's going to be like total amount raised just from pre-sale. Looks like it's going to be about 1.5, close to 1.5 million or so.
Yeah,
So, a large portion of that is going to go to the liquidity.
exactly. It has to. So, everything that we're doing is for the ecosystem to make it resilient. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
on this. I mean, every part of the white paper, the ecosystem we built, it's built for resilience, right? Not to control anything, but making sure that we can persuade markets to do things that it's going to be most advantageous. And so making sure that we have ample liquidity to go into this next phase of Kelp after launch, it's incredibly important.
Okay, that's good. Now that's kind of what I wanted to know because that's my concern from previous projects, and I'm sure Milking Time knows probably which ones I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
for sure, for sure. I mean, the liquidity ratio is going to be high. There is going to be a proportion that is allocated to marketing throughout this pre-sale. But the difference with the marketing that we have in place and the team that we have in place for marketing is what we can do with 100 grand is what another project would spend $1 million on, if you can see where I'm coming from, because we've been in the space a long time. We know what works. We know what stuff is worth, and we know how much people are getting paid for it. And because we are dealing with people directly with the services that we use, we're not using any sort of middleman or any of that bullshit. We are straight to source with every source of marketing that we need. We're not getting ripped off for a single penny of marketing, put it that way. So what we can do with a 100K budget is probably the equivalent of like $500,000 to 600K of what any other project would be splashing out on, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing in terms of the marketing side of things. So, cost of acquisition costs, for acquiring a new user. Just an example, Kelp has been, working on a lot of different things for quite a while. So it's been dormant for a little while. Our monthly active user base went, I think we had about 60, 70,000 people download the app at the time. And our user base was sort of, from a monthly active user point of view, was about 32,000. We decided, okay, now it's time to start bringing things up. We're getting closer to the public pre-sale. Things are happening. So we put out a single post about Lunar New Year. And we used the app and we made a task for it. We sent out a push notification. And literally within that amount of time till now, we've jumped up 3 times on every metric. And so now people are hyped. People are in there. They're talking. There's a lot of chatter. Our monthly active user base has gone up to something like 198,000 or more in the last, I haven't looked at it since this morning. So it could be much higher now. But by every metric, it's gone up. And it costs us literally nothing to do that. So combined with paid ads, we can acquire users extremely cheap, very, very cheap. And that's
we basically have a war room.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
We are in complete control of where we direct that army of people as well.
Yeah.
Part of the second wave of the marketing is going to be heavily based on the CMC community because we're already pre-listed on CMC, but we are building up our community on CMC because it means our articles are going to get seen. It means we're going to be pushed way up on all trending platforms. Kelp is going to be everywhere, and it won't take much to get us there. It will be simple. Push notification, guys, we need your backup here. Bang. There we go. We could even send a shill army to a YouTuber. So, like, have any of you heard of, like, Cryptosaurus and stuff like that with George? We could just send the army over to George and just hammer him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We can do anything
Twitch.
we want with the army. It's unlimited what we can do. We are not going to take the piss with it, obviously. But what I'm saying here is we have an army ready to go, and it's building every single day. Our metrics are getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day, and it will convert to sales. And that's the main thing. That's the main reason we bought it, because it's about spreading the word. when our YouTube series comes out, it's going to be the educational part. But this is an extensive roadmap that's happening over the next 4 or 5 weeks. So it's strategically planned. We've got marketing every day for the next 5 weeks. We've got a lot on our plate, mate.
That sounds really good, man. Like, definitely gonna be excited to see how this strategy, and especially with the app, how that's gonna play out. Because like I said, I'm interested in
Yeah, Boria, tell me,
have
you ever seen a project that hasn't launched, that's just opened its pre-sale? Let's just forget that the website had a little bit of a fart, but have you ever seen a project this well prepared in terms of its user base, its development, and where it is before launch?
Probably no, I don't think so. Like especially with all those users, but I do want to see. That's why I said previously, you guys should put some videos up on YouTube. That way, it's going to convince people. Like, okay, like these people are actually like you said, people are not really. Some people might not believe, how real they are, how engaging they're going to be. So if you put up some videos, so they're going to be 500, views or 1,000 views, like right away, all these comments and likes, then they're going to believe in it more.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I invite you to come in the back end with myself and the team when you've got a bit of time this week, and I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear your ideas, and we'll start implementing them. We are definitely going to get we're definitely going to get the YouTube going, and the first silver plat that we've already got, we're giving it away to the community. So as soon as Edward receives that plaque, we'll go live on YouTube, and we'll pick a winner, and we'll just give it away to someone. Same with the gold one, because it's coming.
Yeah, it's funny because has there ever been a YouTube content creator who already has a silver plaque in the bag but hasn't put out a single video yet?
Is that even possible? Don't they require like some kind of view time or something? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, for to get the silver plaque, you have to actually be active in the last 6 months. So we need to put out a video. So it is priority to get that going because not for the silver plaque. I don't really care about that. But
yeah, because I know for monetizing it, you need like 5,000 hours, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have how much of a user base right now? I mean, we're going to be putting action tasks for every single one of those explainers. I expect every single one of those videos to go viral and just explode on YouTube. So
yeah, definitely. And the YouTube Shorts, I think that's the way to go. Even go with TikToks, because that's
sir.
the way I feel. If you're gonna have YouTube Shorts, might as well just have TikToks because it's the same content you can put out.
Definitely, dude. It's all in the war chest. It's all there. We've got access to do anything that we want. We built a social media monster.
Yeah, have a look at our CoinMarketCap community. So right now it's something like 600, which we haven't. Those are the people that just found us. When we implement the next phase, CoinMarketCap community building is priority because CoinMarketCap has a lot of different programs. And one of them is the airdrop program, and we want to work with them to work with us on the reservation program because they have huge traffic. They run an airdrop; it does like 1 million people in terms of participants. That's massive. Watch us when we do our community CoinMarketCap community building. When we implement the test for it and for the push notification for it, you will see that thing just explode, and that'll be a testament to the power of what we've built so far.
Because we know, Borio, like we know we've been in this space long enough to know that coins with big communities that are active are the ones that survive, that get to the $1 billion market caps.
Yeah, that's how the meme coins do well, right? It's,
exactly, dude. That's how they do it.
Devs pump them up until they get the community, because if the community's not losing money, like, they're not scamming, they're actually pumping their bags, then it builds and they get hyped up and then it goes to big market cap.
Exactly. And we've got two kind of separate communities. We've got the people that are grinding on the app to make themselves some passive income. And today, as of today, we are building our real community of degens. We want the degens behind us. We want you guys to make money on the way up.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, honestly, I do like all of the things you guys doing, especially with the app and the way you get in the community built, and it's like you said, it's very cheap marketing wise, because that's the big issue also with this space is either scammers in marketing or devs just overspending and don't know what they're doing. Because let's face it, if marketing is effective, if you could get your return on investment, you could do that infinitely and snowball, right, and to like unlimited, right? That's the reason why it doesn't happen, is because a lot of times it's not effective. I put in 20K marketing, I'm not going to get back 20K in taxes to continue that again. You know, like a lot of times you'd be lucky to get 20K in buys.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. And I've been a part of enough projects in this space from incubation stage. I've met enough devs, and I know how much they charge, and I know how much they're pocketing. I know how much goes into liquidity and what flies out the back door. And the majority of it is just all bullshit. We know what we've got to spend. We know how much it's going to cost to get to it. And we're being very careful with our money. And what we spent so far is a fraction of what, you know, these guys have spent to get where they are. So we're in a really good spot, mate. We're lined up perfectly. I'm working with Dive as well. So the marketing team is me and Dive. And I'm sure you know Dive. He was one of the core members of Shinobi. You know, and
yeah, I see him in here.
Yeah, and Shinja, you know, went into the billions, mate. And there's only a handful of people that I trust in this space. And I mean that. There's a handful of people, and Dive's one of them. And this is the first time we've collaborated together on different projects in the past where we've crossed paths, but we've never fully worked together as a team on a project. And it's really exciting to be working with him because the stuff that we've got planned, mate, honestly, I'm just so excited about what's coming. I genuinely am. And this is why I've gone full-time Kelp.
Yeah, man, sounds good. Honestly, yeah, I'm excited too. Like I'll be honest, like a month ago or so, I was a little more skeptical. But after, you know, talking and having the separate, you know, discussions and everything, and then with this AMA especially, I feel like a lot of the concerns have been addressed.
Good, mate. Well, I'm happy about that because, you know, since we did hold that first AMA, I was kind of with you in terms of knowledge and understanding it. But that was about 3.5, 4 weeks ago. And since that point, myself and Dive have been with Edward every single day. We are literally sick of hearing each other now. You know, we know each other's mannerisms to that point. But the great thing, we've got a great friendship now between us, but we know each other's skill sets and we're starting to interlink and work really, really well as a team together. But not only that, Dive and myself are getting to know so much more about the bigger vision. And it's seriously exciting. And we know we can get to these milestones. It may look like a mammoth task because when we got the whiteboard out, we went old school with the whiteboard, got that out, got the marker pens out, went all for it. But when we break it down into sections, we know it's manageable. But we've got a roadmap to execute. And we've spent a lot of time putting it together. So we want the backing of the DGens. That's why we're here. We love you. We know where you come from. We know what this space is like. If you are looking to buy Kelp, just get yourself a little bag and just let it do its thing. You know, because if this goes all the way, that little bag, that's all you're going to need anyway. You don't have to splur massive amounts into this and, you know, because I think the biggest thing in DeFi is people put a bit too much in. They're a little bit concerned, a little bit worried. Just put what you can afford to lose in a situation and forget it. This is the kind of token to put it in and forget about it and not be chart watching every 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I like. I mean, you don't have to do like a private sale where, you know, minimum contribution, you know, $1,000 or 10K, or, you know, even pre-sale. Which, I mean, honestly, if you feel like it's risky, just put like $20 in. You know, there's stories of guys putting $20 into SaveMoon or like Doge and then coming out with like millions, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you're comfortable with. You know, we welcome you all. There's no cap. You can put in $20. Well, to qualify for the $5,000 giveaway, make sure you top it up to $25 because if you make a minimum contribution of $25, you go into the raffle where you could win $5,000.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
You know.
so I think we're actually running out of time because I have a meeting coming up, and also let's give it a little bit of time for community questions. If
Yeah, for
anyone
sure.
does any of you guys have any questions? I know we discussed a lot, but we didn't really cover everything, so there's not enough time to go into details about everything that's going on. So I encourage you all, especially if you're thinking of investing or looking more into it, if you have any questions, now's the time.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How will you stop the price from going higher than $1? Just mint more tokens, or what?
That's a great question. Well, I will hand you over to our CEO to show you in terms of the protocol how that'll work.
I'll stop it. I'm gonna dump it at $1.
Edward, do you want to jump in on that one, dude?
Yeah. So, like I said, our seed phase objectives are to reach two pillars. First is parity with the US dollar, and the second is a minimum circulating supply. I don't know what the price is going to do. We might go well past $1 if the demand is there. And like I said, this seed phase objectives are those two. It is not for stability. We're trying to get to the point where stability becomes a viable option. So we know there's going to be volatility in this initial stint. This is very much an experimental sort of way to use a lot of the monetary theorems that have been in the marketplace. We're trying to use them to make predictions in a much faster way and without human intervention. Right? So there's going to be a lot of experimenting, which is why a lot of the core algorithms and logic relies in our server side, which we can then keep modifying in terms of making it better, or if we see things that are not quite right, we can tweak it, we can make it better. I don't know what the price is going to be. It could be trading at $5, and that's where we find equilibrium. It could go higher. But as a starting point, parity is the target. We reach that together with a certain amount of supply, depending on how much the pre-sale goes for, how much we sell there. That's the objective. Now, when we move to our own bespoke blockchain, that's where we will then, convert the value that you have in the portfolio over to $1 mark in Kelp on the actual blockchain. But again, it's not pegged to $1. It operates within the band, two standard deviations. So if you think of a bell curve and you look outside of the bell curve, there's a band that we can operate in, and that's where we're going to be operating. Now, if things go really, really well and there's a lot of intense demand, that band can move upwards, and conversely, it could move downwards. But the entire premise is that in the short term, we minimize volatility, so that's becomes a viable form of money, and that's the premise of Kelp.
Oh, so it's the two standard deviations of what?
Away from mean. So mean, for example, if we just say mean is $1,
like SMA or mean, like a moving average type of mean, or how would you calculate the mean?
Well, the mean is whatever price it's currently trading at, right? And so the Kelp protocol will make predictions around that price. So we basically, if it's trading at $2, well, then we say, okay, this is ground zero for number one for 1 unit, and then how far it goes above 1 or below 1 becomes our what's called QTMC, or predictive circulating supply number. So that's what.
Yeah, but you need like data points, right? So you need like, for example, it hit $1 like 50 times or 100 times. No.
Yeah, well,
it's using 365 data points. So it's
okay, based on that.
data points it's set to, right?
Okay, so it's based on those. Okay.
Yeah, 365 data points of interval data, but it's in terms of what actual variables are in there. The Kelp protocol goes through the various ones. Market base, velocity is one, price, volume, market cap. A lot of things are taken into consideration to come up with our prediction.
Thanks for answering and not answering my question. That was awesome. Maybe you answered it for somebody else who can understand.
Basic. Do you know what yield is? So yield would go up and down overall is the basic view of it, or your staking. How much return you get, it would go up and down based off price.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So once price goes up, it lowers.
Yeah,
Once
so
price goes down, it raises.
yeah,
What
so
we
there's no
need,
like hard
ideally-
cap on price or
Yeah.
anything.
So what we need for Edward, let's call him Shelwood. What's his name? Sheldon Cooper. So we'll call Edward Sheldon Cooper. We need a translator for the math to come through for Dive, just to put it into 3 words.
I will tell you, Anton. I will tell you.
Like Bollinger
the
Bands
price
is actually a
over-
pretty good idea. I mean, pretty good explanation. Go ahead, Gabriel.
the price over $1. If they will see, they want to dump it. The price
That's
below
what I
$1,
said.
they want to pump it. That's it.
It's going to be within the standard deviation. So like Bollinger Bands, that's what they really are, you know. So
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
all the
Bollinger
Jeets are
Bands.
going to dump at $2. They're going to end up buying back at $1, you know.
It's going to be
I
an
think
exciting
these-
road all the way up, though. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be volatility. You know, there's going to be it's going to be a wild ride. But I'm really looking forward to what's coming.
Right on. Thank you.
Come on, Gabriel. This is a right up your alley. I know you're going to point out something in the wallpaper. One of the equations was wrong. Come on.
Not today.
Gabriel has a whole list.
Oh,
He said he'll get back to you guys. He said he's going to proofread the whole white paper.
Gabriel, are
Yeah.
you in on Kelp? That's what we want to know. Are you in on Kelp?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, boy. There we go. The math man is in.
Yeah, if Gabriel's in, that means that's bullish right there.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
you only in
You know better than
He,
that.
Have you
he
ever
only in
done
West
nuclear
once
physics?
every. What's that?
Has he ever done nuclear physics? So nuclear physics, for that, we had, so there's 9 main equations, and then there's 14 overall equations for nuclear physics. And his white paper has more equations, more math. So it literally is tougher than
Mine did
nuclear
dumps.
physics.
Gabriel does even more complex math. He does it based on basically an algorithm based on how a cat moves its tail, and all that.
Does he buy the top and sell the bottom?
And
And I actually found a way yesterday too.
yeah,
I broke, I cracked 6 different chatbots because I asked them how to make an indicator based on walking cat.
yeah, we're doing high level stuff here too.
Dude, I'm not joking. I
Indicator.
created this indicator yesterday. I'm not joking. I'm a genius. I'm telling you. You may laugh.
He's still poor though, so hopefully one of those indicators will
Oh,
play out.
Well, he's bought Kelp, so he's going to be.
I bought Kelp. It's over.
Really good hands then.
Yeah, he's gonna be $10 before he sells. $10 per.
He just
Kelp.
needs to hand his Kelp over and his money to Kate later on when Kate gets released. No one will need to do anything. You just deposit your money with Kate and then just go and live your lives.
Oh, I'm like a walking human calculator, you know. So basically,
Pretty much it,
I-
mate.
in the background, I was also running some Monte Carlo tests for our trading bot, and I just wanted to share this with you. That it works on every market for now, and for over 14 years of data. So on 2- chart. So it's amazing.
Nice. Well, fair play, mate. Well done.
Yeah, he
so
literally took
just
what I
wanted-
was bullshitting in chat and he made a bot out of it. I'm like, this is how you trade. I'll give you one setup, and he made a bot out of it.
And it works.
I'm telling you, it works. Why do you think I said it? But yeah, honestly, man. Any more questions, guys? Anyone has anything to say or add?
Yeah,
Any
so
Jeets
I
want to
wanted
know
to-
when to sell?
yeah, I just wanted to say that I will go through the white paper, and properly and check it. I like hard stuff.
Perfect. Well, we definitely welcome it. It's no matter what people say, about FUD and all this kind of stuff. I don't see it as that. I see it as an opportunity to improve and get better. So, just so you're in context, all of this was built by a PhD in quantitative finance. So that's what you're up against.
Okay, so if I will find errors, you will pay me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a bounty. $1,000 per spelling mistake and $5,000 per equation error.
Fair. That's not fair because I did the spelling on it. So
because I was about to claim 20K right now, man. Come on.
But yeah, the actual economics behind it is from a PhD in quantitative finance, and I'm trying to onboard right now a PhD in mathematics to help us with the second phase of the Kelp protocol. So that's where all the coincidence and vector autoregression and stuff like that comes into play, where we can make sure that we have an ecosystem that is solid, and we understand how all the variables are interplaying with each other. So it's going to take it further, but we need to get expertise on that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the ecosystem and to seeing how it's going to work. But have a read through the white paper and be really curious to see what you think.
Okay, can you repeat again? Because I didn't hear you. Where did it come from?
Yeah, so it was one of our co-founders in the past. He is a PhD in scientific, and I was working with him for 4 or 5 years building Kelp. And he basically wrote a lot of the equations, a lot of the modifications that we required. So, we have modification, for example, the Taylor rule for interest rate calculation. The Kelp protocol itself is a quantitative theory of money. It's a modified version of that. So we're not showing like everything in there because a lot of that we still want to keep proprietary for now. But eventually all this is going to be open source when we move to our own blockchain. Because
okay, so he came up with. So you said he had like a PhD in quantitative finance. Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
This is a like an actual thesis level type project. He actually.
That's what I said, man. I've been reading the white paper. I'm like, man, this reminds me of my good old days when I was a professor at Harvard. Throwing away all the thesis papers in the trash because.
All right, Sheldon.
That's joking.
I just want to warn you that I actually corrected my professor at university. So
I corrected my professors when they told me there are 69 genders. I'm like, I don't agree with that.
No, I actually did it on something important.
Oh yeah, that's fun, guys. So I think we could probably wrap it up. You want to do like a closing statement for everyone here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very hard to summarize Kelp up, but from this 2-hour AMA, I hope you've got a pretty decent overview of what's coming. We have a massive amount of marketing elements that are mapped out and planned. We have a contract that is brand new and shiny. No one's ever got anything like this. It will most likely, elements of this will become the new meta. We're all about something brand new and shiny. That's what Kelp is. We have a huge app. We encourage you to download the Kelp wallet. Even if you don't use it, just download it, check it out, see what's going on, and get involved with the community. Start earning some reserve Kelp for yourself. Get a bag in the pre-sale. Become a part of the community. We're not saying buy a load. Whatever you're comfortable with, we're welcoming everyone to get involved.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for coming, Milking Time and Edward. And, I'm sure you guys know about us that like any good project that we have AMAs with, we are always happy to provide, updates and feedback and support. We have devs here that are still, had AMAs like 2 years ago that pop up and, give us updates, and we pin their announcements, because we actually encourage that. That means they're definitely working, they're definitely pushing. Not someone has an MA, launches a project, and 2 weeks later the project's gone and dead. So this is the kind of projects we actually like to put our name behind and support all the way.
Yeah, we want to come back. We love you guys in here. We like so many of the groups that we're going to. We got deep roots with you guys, and I respect you all, and we've all been part of a journey together. And I just really think that this is a potential opportunity that's going to put us all in a very, very good situation for our future. So I just encourage you at this point to check it out. Do your due diligence. Spend half an hour looking at it, and going through it before you make your decision, and get on board with us and support us.
How many pages are in the white paper? How many pages are in the white paper?
It's like a web-based. I don't even know.
Yeah, there's
26,
25.
27.
I think that it will take more than half an hour.
It took me half an hour to figure out the first equation, man.
Okay. So take the day off work, get the white paper out,
weekend off,
paper, and grab a highlighter. And if there's anything that you don't understand, take a photo of it, drop it in the TG, and Edward will be along to explain it.
Oh, I will.
It took about an hour and a half for me to review it.
Yeah, it took me 3 days to read it properly. I'm not joking. Nearly 3 days to fully get it.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that will be more relatable is going to come very soon, and this is where we kind of go for sort of the longer term strategy, how we tie in reservation programs, stuff like that. I just wanted to get sort of the bulk, so that everybody kind of knows from a foundational level where Kelp is coming from and what's included in the ecosystem, what's behind it, what's the purpose of it. But a lot of the more relatable stuff will come fairly soon, where you kind of get an understanding of what direction we're going to go in. Because at the end of the day, it's a means to an end, and the utilities are going to be reliant on a very stabilized currency. So we want to make sure that that's what Kelp is, and the underlying theories that go behind it are meant to just make sure that we achieve that goal. So tough stuff first, but then we're going to have more relatable stuff coming soon, and then that's when the explainer video is going to hit, which is going to be it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be trying to dumb all of this down. Not that anyone is dumb, but just make it much more relatable, so that it's easier to understand, because it can be pretty heavy.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to have a comment, but I'll say it after the recording's over, for just specifically for Gabriel. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for the AMA, and good luck with the phase 1 and all the phases, including phase 25. 100 billion raised, I believe, for that one. So good luck. And yeah, I'll see you guys. Everyone that's in here, I encourage you all to go into the Telegram and ask questions, and get some hype up in there, or in here, stick around. And guys, all the new people, we'll be doing the giveaway shortly after, and we have AMAs. Well, now it's been quite often because of the bull market. So thanks for coming, and yeah, have a good rest of your day. And milking time, go take a nap.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate you. And like I said, any questions, feel free to DM me or Edward or Dive. You guys are welcome to DM us anytime.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, and see you around. Yeah, good luck.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.